I'm Jeremy White, and it turns out the Bills are not the only team in win now mode.
I'm Joe Marino, and a friendly reminder that roster construction isn't just today.
I'm the big O Jerry Ostroski, and I guess those lines of communication to Connor McGovern, they were open. This is the Locked On Network, and you're watching Bill Squad.
Who's ready, Bills Mafia? It's the Bills Squad. Everything Buffalo Bills, every week. Breaking down the big hits and game-changing plays the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So gear up and squad up. The Bill Squad show starts now.
Welcome in, Bills Mafia, the Bill Squad show. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski, with a special live they're always live, but a live things are happening. We will give you the news. We will react to them. The Bills are losing players. Will they add players? It is free agency Monday. League year starts later this week, but legal tampering is open, which means deals can be agreed upon, and we know of some deals already agreed upon. Gentlemen, howdy. It has been head on a swivel already. We're an hour and 33 minutes in. Alec Pierce was immediately re-signed by the Colts. Did he even hit the open market? Who knows, right? I mean, who knows? But the Bills have already lost Mitchell Trubisky to free agency. He goes to the Titans, and Reggie Gilliam to the Patriots. I feel like on a day like today, for everyone tuning in, listening in, I might keep the numbers down for real cap hits and stuff, and we'll just decide who goes where. Maybe Thursday we can dig a little bit more into that. But for now, I don't know what Alec Pierce's guaranteed money is versus roster bonuses, so we'll keep it kind of simple. But Jerry, Joe, let's start with you, Jerry. Knee-jerk reaction, Gilliam, Trubisky. I don't know if these are surprises, but like it started now. Now we have two more holes the Bills will definitely have to fill.
I think Trubisky, the writing was on the wall just because the situation the NFL is in right now with quarterbacks, and it's pretty dismal. And when you look at Mitchell Trubisky, when he got a chance to start in Buffalo, he did a good job. He played well. We understand he's got a bunch of starts under his belt, and he's a little further in his career. Maybe this is now a chance where he can do some things. Goes to the Titans as an insurance policy for Cam Ward. So I kind of saw that one coming just because of the way the NFL is sitting right now with quarterback prospects and guys with experience. It's not good. As far as Gilliam, I'm surprised a little bit by that, but maybe this is a sign that either A, the Bills are going away from having like a designated fullback kind of player, and maybe Jackson Halls becomes the guy that gets some of the reps in those situations. And B, it could also be just a situation where Bills are cap strapped, and we know that, and they've got some things they want to do, and they just couldn't afford that kind of money for a guy like Gilliam. While he was maybe a guy they wanted, but he was more of a luxury than he was a necessity, so to speak.
I've been wondering for a while with Mitch Trubisky, like, did he just want to be Josh Allen's backup for the rest of his life? You know, I thought maybe there was a chance he signed that 2-year deal a couple of years ago. It was like 2 years, about $5 million. I thought, well, I guess this is just what he's going to do. And of course, maybe just the opportunity he's had to play. Of course, week 18, he looked good. I thought it was his best camp. I thought it was his best preseason as a member of the Bills. And he's not that old. I think he's 31. And so he gets a great opportunity, really, to go to Tennessee. He's familiar with Dayball. They got a young quarterback in Cam Ward. And so I guess playing a little bit might be important to Mitch Trubisky. And I'm sure he got a few more bucks than the Bills were probably willing to commit to the backup quarterback position. And so that'll be fascinating to see where they land. I'm not convinced that their backup quarterback's going to be a rookie. I just don't feel like that's the kind of player they want to have in the room with Josh, and for Josh to now be answering questions of a 22-year-old kid while he's trying to get this team to the Super Bowl. So I am very curious to see where they go. I don't think they're going to want to tie in a bunch of resources, but is this a Kyle Allen, come on back, we need you type situation? That's what it kind of feels like to me. As for Reggie Gilliam, that one sucks, right? Like, I don't want him to go play for the Patriots. I'll say it. I'm not happy about that. Good on him. He got a great deal. He's been coming back on like very modest deals, and he's established himself as one of the best fullbacks in the league, right? That was a big campaign. He should be an all-pro. And not only is he a good fullback, he's a freaking good special teamer. Patriots got a good glue guy for their roster that obviously had a great run in Buffalo, and it does lead to the question, okay, well, is there a role for a fullback? If this is a Sean Payton offense, there is a role, right? Like, there's always been a fullback and a Sean Payton offense. They have Adam Prentice in Denver right now. And so what they do there is fascinating to me. And I could understand that maybe you do transition away from a fullback. That's understandable. That's happening across the league. But the special teams piece, I think you could make a case that Reggie Gilliam is every bit of a top 2 or 3 special teams player on this team. And, now that's no longer in the building.
Second straight year, the Patriots snag that special team or that core special team. I mean, Mac Hollins was that, and they gave him obviously like his role here. The Bills, we've got nothing yet, right? Nothing of news, which is not unusual. Guys, I feel like I can remember it being 2:00 on free agency day thinking, is my team in this? And sometimes that lasts all the way into day 2 because they go for a little bit of the dust settlers. That said, there's still big names out there. Trey Hendrickson, maybe he's the biggest fish right now in the pond to be pulled into the boat. Boye, Mafe. I want to get you guys on a couple things as we're just getting started. Have you had to wave goodbye to any good ideas yet? I know, Joe, you've laid out a couple throughout your Locked On series, previewing some of your targets. Has anybody been taken off the board that you were kind of hoping the Bills would have snagged by now?
I don't think so, Jeremy. That's a good question. I've been obviously paying attention to that, and I don't feel like there's anyone yet that I feel that, really wanted him. I was a big fan of Cade Mays, who just signed with the Lions. It's a good get for them. They need some help on that interior offensive line. But when the Bills brought back Connor McGovern, obviously that need at center wasn't at all. There's no longer a need. And so that would probably be the one player that I had my eye on. Draymond Jones is another player that I thought of as kind of a possibility. Love the versatility to play in a stand-up role or, sometimes that 5-tech 4-eye role. But nothing where I'm like, oh, man, Bean's got to uncover some rocks I didn't expect. Certainly not at this point yet.
Yeah,
I agree. The only one that I wanted so far that's not available is Reggie Gilliam, right? That was one of our own.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I think we're still in play for who we're wanting to get a shot at for our roster. And like we always thought, I mean, the whole Connor McGovern thing was kind of like out of the blue, right? It was kind of like a surprise. It was the Red Ryder BB gun at Christmas that we didn't know we were going to get, right? And all of a sudden he shows up, which is great. But, I think we're kind of in that situation of kind of a hold and wait because we're looking at maybe a little bit, different tier than some of these teams are snatching up right now.
What's funny, though, is I, of course, put all this time into my mock off season, which dropped on Friday.
Right.
I had the Bills bringing back 2 players, Trubisky and Gilliam. They're the first 2 gone. So I guess no players that I'm sad the Bills weren't able to get, but the 2 guys I wanted them to keep, they're gone. But I didn't think McGovern was going to stay, and he stays, and that's obviously bigger than the backup quarterback or fullback.
Yep. Greg Allman of Fox Sports is writing here that in the Athletic of the NFL covering the Bucs, that teams are offering Mike Evans north of $27 million.
Yo!
It's a big number. Say
that again.
North of $27 million for Mike Evans. And Pierce got north of 27. Now, if I may, everybody's got their favorite days of the year, right? One of my favorite days is this day because every year people are kind of blown away by prices. They're supposed to go up, right? Like we do kind of know that they're supposed to go up. And Evans, $27 million a year. That was an idea that we had talked about quite a bit. I don't know if we thought it was going to be 27. We might have flirted with 19 or 20. But if you're going to get him to leave Tampa, I don't think it'll be the Bills now with DJ Moore. I mean, like there's just no way they could add another receiver without getting rid of like Josh Palmer. But whatever. That's the news on that. And just
Jeremy,
charting
I
some of the
hear
other
that these things go up, but I mean Davante Adams at 32 years old just signed 2 years, $44 million. That's 21 per for Davante Adams. And now but Mike Evans off of injury is going to go for that?
That's AAV, though. That's what I mean. Like, to get into it now, we might find out, like, 2 years, 54, and the real contract is, what? Malik Willis to the Dolphins. The division's getting juicy. Like, I'm here waiting, guys, for New England to hit their first really big strike, right? They added a Baltimore defensive back. I forget the name.
They get Draymond Jones, the D-line edge rusher type player. Yeah.
D-line, not defensive back, D-line. So they had Draymond Jones, New England does. And they've got a lot of money to spend. The Jets are adding a lot. So the Jets are interesting here, Bills fans, because I feel like they might want to go to the bottom, and Miami might want to go to the bottom and find a quarterback. But the Jets appear to almost be building a team that they want to then find a quarterback to plug into rather than start from scratch with the young quarterback, which is – like, that kind of makes sense. That's what the Bills wanted to do, right? They wanted to build something first and then draft their guy. And the Jets have added a number of free agents to this point, and they franchise tag Breece Hall. So they're kind of looking to stay credible, it seems. They trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Breece Hall has tweeted that apparently there is money in Florham Park. So that's kind of funny as he got the franchise tag.
I don't know about what these Jets are doing. Demario Davis is like a 38-year-old linebacker. I love Demario Davis. I could have thought of 20 other teams that would have made more sense than the Jets. Trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick and paying him, signing some okay edge rushers to come fill out their defense. This smells to me like they got to win some games. They are accelerating their process. They just trade away their best players. Well, I would say, of course, Garrett Wilson stays, but I mean, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, that you told us you were resetting, that you were embracing a very strategic, measured rebuild that is designed for sustained success. And now you get your first chance for player acquisition since, and you're selling yourself out for all these aging players. It's not, I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it if I were a Jets fan. And this smells like, hey, we're just eventually going to get Kyler Murray to be our quarterback or somebody like that, right? The Geno Smiths of the world. I don't know if you go back to the Jets, but that type of quarterback to come in and get your 6 to 8 wins. Well, that's not what any Jets fan should want. You should want a true process that's going to get you to the point where you can be a sustained winner. And I can understand that this was not going to be the offseason or the draft to probably draft your young quarterback, right? They're in a tough spot not picking number one, because I really just think there's Fernando Mendoza, and I don't know, like Ty Simpson feels like he's a couple years away if he's a first-round pick. And I would have been more patient. I would have wanted the Jets to be more patient if I were a Jets fan. As a Bills fan, I'm happy to see them throw money at older players that I think fly in the face of the process they should be following.
We're going to be covering lots of breaking stuff, whether that's signings, opinions. Dan Orlovsky tweeted 12 minutes ago, if Evans doesn't go back to Tampa Bay, the top 5 for him, 1, San Francisco, 2, Buffalo. I can't imagine the Bills commit that much money to the receiver room unless, they really are going all the way in on their offense. We have seen a number of people say that they're not done at receiver with DJ Moore, but I would still be stunned. I feel like the next move is a draft pick. And for now, Albert Breer even reported this today, that the Bills were a little bit in on Maxx Crosby, and with McGovern re-signed and the DJ Moore trade, they're about to be ready to go all in on the defense. And we'll talk about that. But before we do that, though, Jerry, let's get McGovern his flowers here, because over the weekend when he signs, our group chat, you two were popping off. You were excited, relieved, elated. Give me all the words you got. But the McGovern news, which comes before free agency, of course, had you guys feeling very, very good.
Well, here's why I feel really good that we signed him for 3 years, $52 million, okay? Because sources have just reported that Tyler Lindenbaum, okay, Ravens free agent, has agreed to a record deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Are you ready for this? 3 years, $81 million that includes $60 million guaranteed.
That's big.
$60 million guaranteed. You look at that 3 year, $52 million. This looks like, compared to what Linderbaum just made, we're talking about the Reggie Gilliam deal that just went to New England, right? And we got a quality player that we know is really good, is durable, who does a great job for us. So I can't believe it, honestly. I reached out to, I'll be honest with you, I reached out to Tim Graham and asked him if he got 3% on that deal that McGovern signed, because, obviously the article comes out, we're all feeling some type of way about it, and man, nobody's even reached out. How could Brandon Beane do that? That's so rude. And then less than 24 hours later, he signs a contract. So huge for the Bills, because it really allows Brandon Beane in that front office to then shift the emphasis to that defensive side of the ball more. They're not in a panic trying to figure out who do we get to come in as a center, or do we get a guard, or how this whole thing goes. So, yeah, huge deal for the Bills. Just a lot of familiarity with him as a player, and then him with the franchise. And word out there is that maybe Josh had a little bit of recruiting.
I was just going to say that before you jump in, because another check mark on stop complaining about your quarterback making so much money is he just makes a phone call and guys take what, like $5 million less? Hey, Connor, come on, help me out here. Like, all right, right? Like, he's saving you money.
Right, but there's a cut. Like, offensive linemen and certain quarterbacks, there's a relationship, man. It's like you don't want to let your guy down.
You're still protecting him.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Mark,
it's that St. Bernard, man. You're like the big St. Bernard, right? And anytime you're needed, you come running in with the barrel around your neck. And, hey, if Alex Van Pelt or Jim Kelly asked me whatever, I'd probably do it too. So props to McGovern.
Do you think part of that recruiting call from Josh Allen is like, hey, man, we have a lot of fun together. I'm a pretty good quarterback. You can come here for $13 million, or you can go be the center for the number 1 pick, Fernando Mendoza, and you can teach him about NFL pressure schemes and where his eyes are supposed to be. What would you rather do there? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's that hard of a sell. But man, 3 years, 81. I'm not a math guy, but that's a lot. That's more than $25 million a season.
Yes.
Like, we're talking tackle money here.
Yes.
For Linderbaum, Jerry. I mean,
yes.
He has, I think he has the 7th highest lineman salary now.
Woo!
Now, again, like, there's money and then there's fit, because the immediate reaction I'm reading is like the Kubiak system and what they do. They really need a center to be great. So that's why, like, hey, listen, I'm building my offense, and here it is.
Isn't that fascinating, though? Because the center they had for Seattle was Jalen Sundell, who's like an undrafted player out of North Dakota State that didn't even play as a rookie. Winds up taking over the starting job this year. He looks really good for them. And now he goes to Vegas, and they're given a massive market reset to get Linderbaum. Linderbaum's a dude. Like,
Linderbaum is a dude.
He's an absolute dude, but I mean,
yeah,
it is important, but they just won the Super Bowl with a guy that's a UDFA in year 2 out of a small school.
He goes $81 million, man. That handcuffs you for a while. I mean, you better hope that he stays healthy and he's a dude for a long, long time, because that's a lot of bread, man. It's a lot of bread. That's why, I know 52 million is a lot of bread too, but in the grand scheme of things in 2026, thank you, Connor McGovern. I appreciate you, man, because it's
$14 million more per year for Linderbaum than McGovern. That's a good pass rusher at 14.
Yes.
Yep.
That's wow.
Yeah, but not at 14, 10 million more than Creed Humphrey.
That's crazy. It's all crazy.
From Creed.
The moves are coming fast and furious. Tyler Algier to the Cardinals. It looks like Isaiah Likely to the Giants. Still waiting for someone to the Bills, which it's not unusual to not have something early at this point. So we'll get a quick break in. When we get back, we might have one. You know, like, things are coming fast and furious. I've seen the Bills are in on some players who are signing here or there. Got to get your guys' thoughts on the Maxx Crosby trade, because he was traded for 2 first-round picks. Of course, a very big price for the Ravens. But to me, that move from the Ravens is a lot like what the Bills are doing right now, pushing their chips and saying it's time for us right now. So we'll get our thoughts in on that and continue covering Legal Tampering Day, if that's what we call it, here on the Bill Squad Show. This episode of Bill Squad brought to you by Game Time. We live in a world where we can stream anything, order food in minutes, carry supercomputers in our pocket, and somehow buying tickets to a live game still can feel complicated. Hidden fees, jumping prices, endless steps. There has to be a better way. That's why I use the Game Time app. It gives fans the advantage and makes getting tickets simple. Whether it's NFL games, concerts, comedy, whatever you're into, you can jump on the app, check out tickets for an upcoming game, and it takes just minutes. So see panoramic views from every seat before you buy. The price you see includes all fees, no surprises at checkout. You can even spot zone deals where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seat for extra savings. 2 taps, you have great seats locked in. Fast, easy, and done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. We're back here on the Bill Squad Show. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the Big O, Jerry Ostroski. Of course, we chat Bills with you twice a week, and today is Legal Tampering Day. The league year starts on Wednesday. That's when the Bills can make their DJ Moore trade official. Maybe we hear from Moore about the trade, and maybe more signings by then. We'll, of course, keep you in the loop on the very latest. But, yeah, the Raiders and center Tyler Linderbaum going to be big-time headline makers here. The Bills got ahead of that by re-signing McGovern. So, huge money, as expected.
I do want to say something, though. You really got to look at it this way. I know we're going ahead and we're advertising this as 3 years, $81 million. When I look at contracts nowadays, the first thing I do is, to me, the contract's the guaranteed money. So if you look at the guaranteed money, it's 3 years for $60 million. that kind of falls in line a little more. You say $20 million a year. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of escalators probably and things like that. But one thing we know that the NFL does really, really well, the minute the ink dries on the contract and they give you the deal, they're figuring out ways to get the money back. So I don't know if he'll see all 81 million, but still, man, that's a lot of cheddar, dude. That's a lot of cheddar.
Yeah. It's also like when you have the rookie quarterback window, like, listen, we make our point about Josh's money, but that's the time to overpay. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots overpay on some deals right here. Like, this is the time to do that. If we're talking about things we were hoping, what's your ideal scenario today, right? Who do you want the Bills to add? I mean, again, it doesn't have to be today, but Jerry, let's start with you. The name you would love to just see come across that ticker right now. Bills agree to terms with blank.
Leo Chenal, linebacker from the Chiefs. I mean, look at Malik Willis is now the quarterback in Miami. Drake Mays with New England. Kyler Murray is inevitably going to be the quarterback of the Jets. There's some athletic quarterbacks, and I think a player like Leo Chenal is really useful for your overall front, to be able to rush, to be able to spy, be able to fit downhill and play the run, short coverage drops, things like that. I feel like the Bills need to get that type of player. And so Chenal's like the name I'm really hoping for, but I really want help for this defensive front seven, right? I feel like that's where the Bills are lacking. That's where there's opportunities, and that's where I want to see some investment. So defensive front seven players, but specifically Leo Chenal.
I'm there as well. I like Owawe, and I also like Mafe, those two guys. I like Odafe Owawe from the Chargers. Obviously, he went there last year, got into a different situation, turned into an unbelievable pass rusher. He's not a run-playing guy, but like we've talked about before, I don't care. I'm not worried about playing the run. I want to rush the passer, and he's a guy that can do it from that outside, edge position. And also, go ahead and pronounce it for me, Jeremy. Mafe, is that correctly?
Boye Mafe.
Boye Mafe. He's kind of an anomaly, man. Like, he doesn't have a ton of plays under his belt. He's kind of was a situational guy, maybe not a bunch of sacks, but you got to look at, where he might be. He's a guy that's got a lot of ability, a guy that could be there. So if you get him cheaper than the other guy, maybe you roll that way. But I want those types of guys. I want speed. I want violence. I want to get after the quarterback. I don't care who it is. I love those two dudes, but I want to get after the quarterback.
Let me give you a couple different names here. Sumer Sports just put out their ranking of the top 10 free agents by their score. And there are some linebackers on this list. In fact, Tyler Linderbaum was the second free agent they have. Caden Ellis, Atlanta. Bobby Wagner still. Bobby Wagner, Washington. You like Caden Ellis, Joe?
He's one of my favorite players in the league.
Okay.
He's an older version of Leo Chenal that's played all the snaps. That's the big difference, but very similar stylistic players. Probably a lot more proven, but obviously he's probably 5 years older as well.
Two more linebackers, Devin Lloyd, Jacksonville, Alex Singleton, Denver. There's also, like, for Denver, JFM, John Franklin Myers, right? Like, we're expecting him to see north of 20. That could be a guy that the Bills are tied to just because of the Jim Leonard connection. So there are ideas out there, and, you wonder what their biggest deal will be. Would you bet anybody makes more than DJ Moore from the Bills this offseason? I can't see it.
No.
I can't see
it. So. No. That's APY is 23.5. Yeah, I don't think so.
Hendrickson would have to take that. Let me ask you this, like, on the DJ Moore trade, do you find yourself looking at that trade as being looking better by the day as all these contracts go? Like, to me, that's probably something to expect. Like, all right, that's a big number that he makes, and you effectively give him a new deal by guaranteeing his 2028 money, rather. But does it look better once the Alec Pierce deal gets signed or some of the other deal gets signed?
I think the Alec Pierce deal makes me feel better about it, because that came in considerably higher. I thought he could be around 25, but it looks like it's around 30 million a season. And so I do feel better about it through that lens. I know that the Pittman deal is going to be one that people talk about. The Steelers traded for him. It was like a late round pick swap. And then a new deal that was like 3 years, right at about 60 million. So that feels better. But one thing that I always find myself very concerned about is when a player that's been part of an organization that's kind of had a lingering injury and they go ahead and move on, and that team is like intimately acquainted with all the medicals and whatever the situation with Michael Pittman's back is. Yeah. And so look at their behavior. They just paid Alec Pierce crazy money.
Right.
And then they turn around and trade away Michael Pittman. I know that there's some circumstances there, but I'd be worried about that back piece. I mean, if you told me that if it's a 3-year outlook, right? DJ Moore and Michael Pittman for the next 3 seasons are pretty much locked into their new teams. If you told me that for sure Pittman's back is going to be good, I'd say, yeah, of course I'd rather do the late round pick swap and get Michael Pittman. But I don't know. I don't know enough about that back situation, and it concerns me.
I think you have to always look at that. I mean, backs stay around. I mean, we've had luck in this franchise of rehabbing guys with back situations. Spencer Brown and Deion Walker, they've got back deals that we deal with, and we get them through, right? But yeah, you just can't roll the dice when it comes to those types of things, especially with guys that are out of house. You know, these guys were started here, they've been here, we know everything about them. Guys that don't start here, that are kind of from another place, it's hard to really get a grasp on it. And it's definitely buyer beware situations when you're talking about injuries like that.
Tracking all the moves in free agency on this legal tampering day. Maxx Crosby for 2 firsts. That's also something that kind of is in the background here. It happened over the weekend. And I feel like it's funny. Like when the Bills make a deal, we're ready to talk about why it makes sense. Baltimore here is very similar to me. They paid a much bigger price, but Baltimore fired their coach and kept their GM. And Baltimore trades 2 firsts because what are they saying? Enough of the playoff wall. We have to win. And I think it's just a parallel move to the Bills. They get the defensive end that they've been coveting. The Bills don't have that piece yet. We'll see where they get it. But I appreciate Baltimore's move. I'm glad the Bills didn't make it. I would not have wanted to trade 2 firsts for Maxx Crosby. I understand that some might have, and if they did, I would have, gotten to a place where I'm excited. But I'm glad it's not the Bills with the 2 firsts.
I think I agree with you, Jeremy. I wouldn't have loved the Bills giving up 2 1s for Maxx Crosby. While I simultaneously don't fault Baltimore for doing it, they've obviously had a big issue with their pass rush. It's a huge investment. I'm obviously very interested in Nnamdi Madubuike and what his future holds. There's been some concerns, but simultaneously maybe a little bit of momentum with some of his workout videos lately with whatever that next situation is. So if it's kind of a swap, like, Madubuike is going to have to be forced into retirement and we got to go down this route to find some impact, well, then it's more of a swap. But if you're going to tell me Madubuike's healthy, they got Travis Jones back, now they have Maxx Crosby. Those are some dudes there for that front with a good defensive coach there and Jesse Minter to bring it all together. One thing that I disagree with that I've seen a lot in the response to the trade is that Maxx Crosby's fallen off. And I know that maybe his sack production has declined, but I think that has a lot more to do with the situation with the Raiders. I mean, they stink. It's hard to get sacks when you're not leading games and you can tee off and rush the passer, right? Like I don't think Maxx Crosby is a declining player that the Ravens just gave 2 first-round picks for. So that's not where I'm going to cope. But I do think it was expensive, but I think these trades to this point have really been a little bit more of a favoring the sellers and getting some good returns. So it's a logical trade for both sides, but I do think it was a rich pay for the Ravens to give the 2 1s, especially knowing that this year's 1 is 14 overall. Right? It's not like a back end of the first round. This is a top half of the first round pick.
Yeah, it's a much higher value. We have 2 more, and I feel like we're charting so many, whether it's Bills competitors or it's the AFC. Jacksonville loses Travis Etienne. He's going to go to the New Orleans Saints. That one just came in. He wanted to be closer to home. And another one here. This one had been reported for a couple of days, I want to say. Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans. That had been a connection from Brian Daboll. They were both there in New York, and Wan'Dale Robinson goes to Tennessee. So 2 more additions here in the last couple minutes. Jacksonville, I don't know if they're weakened a bit. Etienne is he's good. I fully expected some team to pay him and kind of make him their workhorse. The big running back news is Kenneth Walker. So Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs have not really ever had a good running back while they've been good, right? And here I guess they take themselves out of the Jeremiah Love conversation, which if I were a Chiefs fan, gentlemen, I'd be happy about the Kenneth Walker signing just for that. Just because now I'm going to use the 9th pick and then the Rams pick. I'm going to get 2 firsts, and I'm not spending either one on a running back. So they can address their other needs, whatever they think they might be. But what do you think about Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs?
I think it's right in line with what the Chiefs do. I didn't think there was any chance they're going to take Jeremiah Love with the 9th pick overall like people had him slated. That's not what Andy Reid does. Andy Reid wants to run the ball just enough to keep you honest. He wants to throw it. So at number 9, hope that your guy that ran a little bit slower at the combine from Ohio State's not there, because if not, if he is at 9, he ain't getting past 9, Jeremy. You can bank that. But yeah, I mean, you got to look at a team. Travis Kelce made the decision. It was announced that he's coming back for his 14th season today. So he's let it be known that he'll be back. They got to sign him to a 1-year contract, which we'll see what that is. I mean, obviously he doesn't need the money anymore after June. He's going to be taken care of quite well. But, you got that situation. But this is a team that's they're trying to get young, right? They're trying to get younger, especially key positions. And you get a running back now that has experience. It's not too old, but then you're able to load up and continue to pick in other areas. So I think it totally makes sense with what they like to do there.
I think we have our first. This one's going to sting Joe. Maybe both of you.
It does.
The Chiefs have agreed to terms with Kyhiris Tonga. I only know the name because you guys have mentioned him several times in this lead up. Like this is a guy that you would have loved, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Connor McGovern's happy to get him out of the division, right? Call him the toughest guy to block he faced this past year. Well, there's other nose tackles I like. Roy Lopez, DJ Reader would be the next in line for preferences at nose. But Tonga, I mean, you could just feel the difference whenever he was on the field. Like he missed some time there late in the season for New England, and they just weren't the same on defense. They're different when he's in there, and now he goes to Kansas City, and their run defense has kind of been an issue too. So that'll probably get that short up.
Well, good news out of the division. Bad news to a primary rival that has been down and can use him. Yeah.
Thought on Ken Walker, though, to Kansas City. Anthony Prohaska, one of my favorites, he described Ken Walker on X today as a choose-your-own-adventure back, and I couldn't think of a more perfect way to describe Ken Walker, who's definitely one of those guys that searches for the big runs, which I think, to Jerry's point, is kind of exactly what they need, right? Like, they don't want to be a committed team to running the football, but what they would like to have is an explosive back,
right?
So that when they're playing the two high safeties, this guy can choose his own adventure and rip off the big home run play. And I think that's Ken Walker to a T. And so they'll probably love the passing game ability. Plus that he's going to have some annoying runs. Like he's going to take some runs that there's 3 yards to get and he's not going to get them. But that was LaShawn McCoy with Andy Reid too. Like the whole C3 get 3 wasn't his thing. So I think it's a very good stylistic fit. Although I don't think it does signal that they're all of a sudden going to get to running the football.
So the Chiefs have agreed. The Chiefs have agreed with Tonga on $21 million over 3 years with 14 guaranteed.
That's
deal. What it costs.
I had him at 6 per. It came in at 7. That's good.
Yeah. ETN's deal with the Saints, 4 years, 52.
What are the Saints doing? What are the Saints doing?
They might be, aren't they? Maybe sneaky good. They were a tough out last year. They competed with a lot of good teams. They have a quarterback. I'm not saying they're great, but they might want to think that they can be kind of good.
Sure, but the one thing they have is a running back, right? Like they just redid Kamara again. Like I don't know. I'd have put that money somewhere else, but I disagree with Mickey Loomis more times than I agree with him.
Yeah. 4 years, 52 for ETN, tracking all the biggest signings. Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans. That's 4 years, 70 for him. So, decent money for Wan'Dale Robinson. All right, we'll step aside when we come back. Continue to kind of cover free agent frenzy here live for you. Stephon Diggs is out on the open market. You've got a lot of players that are expected to be. How does that work? If you're expected to be released at the start of the league year, you can agree to terms, but you're not actually cut until it happens. And then, anyway. That's what this league is getting us with all these paper trades to go through. Michael Pittman to the Steelers for a late round pick. AJ Brown, that the momentum is said to have cooled there. Jalen Phillips, 4 years, 30 per. I like that for Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, but he's gone to Carolina. Is that correct?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep.
4 years.
Jahan Dotson of the Eagles is signed with the Falcons. 2 years, $15 million.
Okay, 2 years, 15. I gotta know what Darnell Mooney's going to get. If you guys will indulge me in a depth, maybe on a prove it deal receiver. I do like him as that.
If I'm Darnell Mooney and I see the deal Jahan Dotson just said, I want at least that.
Well,
Jahan Dotson has like 300 yards the last 2 years.
I know.
Hey, Joe, that's up to $17 million, and it's $10 million guaranteed for a
Dotson?
guy, for just a dude, just a guy,
Stop me if you've heard me say it before. Receiver is expensive.
It really is.
Right.
Got to draft him. Jeremy, you should think about this, drafting receivers.
Yeah, you should draft a receiver.
I'm going to look into that. All right. We'll get a quick break in. We get back. We'll probably have like 5 more signings in the next minute or two. We're covering it's fast and furious here as free agent frenzy begins here on the Bill Squad Show. This episode of Bill Squad brought to you by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. If you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, it's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job to the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about it, Indeed, on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Covering the free agent frenzy, the legal tampering period here for the NFL, which is probably just here so that they can sign a guy very quickly and no one says that there was tampering, even though these deals are done far too quickly to believe that. But, you know, it's the theater of the NFL. We'll take it. The Bills have lost Mitch Trubisky. They've lost Reggie Gilliam. Taron Johnson, a trade there. That's a nice little surprise, right? A nice little picked slide. You had a 7th. It's going to move up to a 6th because the Raiders decided, we'll take Taron Johnson. There's no difference on the money, but the Taron Johnson era is over. How about that real quickly, guys? Like, what does that mean for that position? Because we think they're still going to have someone in that role, but they want younger, bigger. Do they want someone that is a little more able to bring the lumber? I mean, Taron Johnson did do that over the course of his time here. So what will be different about his replacement?
I always pay very close attention to what the mouthpieces say. The insiders are mouthpieces for players, agents, and organizations, right? And every insider that shared the Taron Johnson move made a point to say wasn't a fit for Jim Leonard's defense. All right, so I asked myself, what about Taron Johnson would they say doesn't work, right? Because he's supposed to be a good, like, second-level player that can fit and play downhill. He's like coverage. Like, I think he's shaky in coverage, but I don't know that there'd be a coverage limitation. The two things that came to mind is that, number one, they do want to have a bigger player there. They want to have somebody who's a little bit more interchangeable that can play downhill better than Taron has over the last 2 years. And they also want that player to be able to get deep and be more of a slot safety and play with some depth and deeper alignments. And certainly that's not Taron Johnson. And so that's what's very interesting to me about it, was them telling us that Taron Johnson didn't fit, and then me trying to ask the question, well, what about Taron Johnson doesn't fit, and what does that tell us about what they want? I think they want some size and some more versatility to play in deeper alignments.
So what you're saying is they want Cole Bishop to play down there.
Well, that's interesting. I've
seen a little bit of that, right?
Some of that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be one guy. I think it's going to be a little bit more situational.
Because honestly, and obviously you can't foreshadow what happened this year and the firing and everything else, but if you look at Hancock, that kind of described him a little
more
bit
of him
to me. Yeah. It described him to me. So it's, obviously they got a type.
I'm still trying to figure out what Jordan Hancock does well. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like he's a good athlete. He flies around, but like, what is his superpower? Because even at Ohio State, it's like,
right,
sometimes it's look good, sometimes it's shaky. You're physical, you're willing, but you're out of position. I don't think you have great ball skills. Okay in man, shaky in zone. Like, what is your thing? And I want to figure that out with Jordan Hancock.
Kind of laying the misfit toys for him.
Ian Rappaport, David Edwards to the Saints. So what are the Saints doing? They're going to have Travis Etienne run behind David Edwards. David Edwards to the Saints. So the Bills, another loss for them today before any additions via free agency. Edwards, Trubisky, and Gilliam all gone. I want to get you guys one other thing here on John Franklin Myers. So Diana Rossini reports many teams are circling around this time for Broncos defensive lineman John Franklin Myers. Multiple suitors inquiring about the 7-year veteran. He's expected to have a big payday. Is this perfect fit? Is there a range you'd be comfortable with for John Franklin Myers?
I think he's going to be pricey. I think he's going to be around $15 million a season. And David Edwards, John Franklin Myers is a good player. But if you don't appreciate Greg Rousseau, you're not going to appreciate John Franklin Myers. Very similar players, power players, good against the run, compression style. They don't win quick as a pass rusher, but they have some slow burn power to them. So just be aware of that. He's a similar type player. So if you don't love Greg Rousseau, you're not going to like John Franklin Myers.
See, I think we got enough of that.
I do too.
I want something that moves in a ballistic manner, that moves with a fast, ballistic, speedy type manner. That's what I want. So to me, to go $15 to $20 million for a redundant player is kind of silly, honestly. But I get it.
Good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
We need backups, but we also drafted 3 of them last year.
We're also kind of waiting on the Dawson Knox news, which it doesn't have to happen right away. But if the Bills are going to start signing, Knox's cap hit of $17 million, they've got to decide something by Wednesday, right? Or at least if they plan on signing somebody on Wednesday, they might have to make some moves by Wednesday. So I'm surprised it's gone this long.
The longer that it goes without him being released, the more likely I think it is that he stays. Because I think if they're going to move on from Dawson Knox, I think they'd have done it. They'd have put him in the market right now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he would have had a chance to go pick his team. Or did the Titans just gave Daniel Bellinger 3 years, $24 million? You think they wouldn't rather give that to Dawson Knox and Dawson Knox can go play in Nashville? I think I'd be disappointed, to be honest. If they're going to release Dawson Knox, they should have done it already and give him a chance to go get that money in Tennessee.
Yeah, sorry, Jerry. There might have been like a little handshake agreement to let's see what the market does for tight ends on Monday, and we'll come back and we'll find a middle ground of where we need to be.
4 years, $61 million for David Edwards. So what's that, 15 a year?
Right at 15 per. Yeah. So he gets more than McGovern, which was
the market said that was going to happen.
I'll take the better player at the more important position, but we did think David Edwards would get more, and he did.
I will too. And I got another thing to say about that in a second. I mean, it's almost like the McGovern deal kind of fell right into where it maybe needed to be. And maybe that's why we did not see him hit free agency, because they might have got cold feet and didn't like what they heard and decided to take that deal from Buffalo.
We've got a signing for the Raiders here. What do the Raiders love? Fast receivers, right?
Shaheed.
From beyond the grave. No, not Shaheed. Jalen Nailor to the Raiders. Jalen Nailor to the Raiders from Minnesota. 3 years, $35 million. AAV in the neighborhood of 12 for Jalen Nailor.
It's the bad team tax right there. You got a bunch of cap space. You sign players like Jalen Nailor to that type of deal.
To go back to the Dawson Knox situation, I almost think I feel in situations like this, the deal's probably already been agreed to. They're just sitting waiting on it. And when B needs to call it, he'll call that card. I bet you they got the rework already done. Kind of hashed out.
I would agree. Yeah, I don't think that both sides are sitting around waiting for a resolution. I'm sure it's happened. And I'm inclined to believe that it's to stay. But again, I could absolutely be wrong.
Tracking free agency and all the signings out there. New England, Buffalo, neither has struck really big yet. In fact, the biggest story might be the players they lost so far. But we'll see. Gilliam, David Edwards, Taron Johnson, and Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky going to Tennessee. Brian Dable reuniting with Wan'Dale Robinson and Daniel Bellinger for $50 million a year or whatever, big money or whatever, $50 million total in contract money. We'll see. Good luck to you. Good luck.
On David Edwards, he's gone, right? So the Bills will be having a new left guard. Jerry, the return of Connor McGovern at center, does that increase your appetite to truly give Alec Anderson a chance at left guard?
I mean, yeah, I think he's in the mix for sure. I think they all are. I mean, you got to look at Pran Granger as well. I think there's going to be multiple people, but I would be shocked. Now, granted, we just let Reggie Gilliam go, so maybe the money is that tight to where they don't see the need to bring somebody else in, and they'll ride a year with a really, really, really team-friendly contract in Alec Anderson and just take their lumps with it because it's so inexpensive. But I would still think there's going to be either A, a draft pick, or B, maybe another vet come in to provide some depth. But we'll see, because right now, if you really look at it, cut-wise, after last year, other than Edwards not being here, if they do start Alec Anderson, they'll need another backup to come in at guard. But primarily, you got the same numbers. You got all three backups from last year sitting there. Okay, you got Grable, you got Anderson, you got Van Pran Granger. Do you add a piece to start at left guard, or do you let, so it's kind of it's amazing what just that signing of McGovern has done for that group up front.
No doubt.
We'll get a break and come back and see if we get more news on some free agent signings. David Edwards gone for the Bills, so planning what's going on at left guard soon enough, whether it's today, tomorrow, the draft. The Bills have some holes to fill. Jeremy White, Joe Marino, and the big O, Jerry Ostroski, here on the Bill Squad Show. Now we're back here on the Bills Squad. Happy free agency frenzy day. We'll be back on Thursday. By then, the league year begins, and we'll have more news, maybe more trades. The Dolphins have moved on from Tua Tagovailoa, and Malik Willis will be their quarterback, which is an interesting decision. Maybe it pops and he's great. There's lots to like about Malik Willis, but I feel like that's a team that easily could have decided to go to the bottom, and he might be just good enough to make sure that you're not at the bottom. So who knows? But Malik Willis follows the Green Bay contingent that went from Green Bay to Miami to run that organization. They know him really well, clearly, and believe in him. So probably your day one starter for the Dolphins is Malik Willis.
The deal came in a lot lower than some of the reports. It had been speculated that Malik Willis could get $30 million a season, and all the arrows pointed to the Arizona Cardinals and the LaFleur connection there. And, of course, these Packers guys that are now in Miami know Malik Willis well. I think this is a really challenging offseason to get a good young quarterback. If you want a bad old one, you can get plenty of those. But I think you had two chances at a young franchise quarterback. It's Fernando Mendoza. You got to have the number one pick to do that, or it's to sign Malik Willis. And the thing about this signing of Malik Willis is that the Dolphins have a chance to give him this year and see what it looks like. And if he's the guy, he's the guy. He might be. I was a big fan of Malik Willis coming out of Liberty. I mean, this guy's got unbelievable upside in terms of physical skill. He's an unbelievable runner. He's got big-time arm talent. I think he was really good, obviously, for Green Bay in a small amount of opportunity, but I thought he ran the offense that LaFleur put in front of him, and obviously he had a lot of success that got him this type of a deal. But it's a reasonable swing where if he's not good, it's okay. You're still going to be okay. You have that next year's draft to consider, but I think it's the second best path to a good answer at a good young quarterback outside of Mendoza. I don't find myself that critical of the move compared to the Jets, who just signed David Onyemata, because of course they did sign another mid-30-year-old defensive player.
I think it's smart by Miami because they're bringing in a known commodity. These guys all know him from Green Bay, right? These are all the general manager and everything. So you're not taking a chance on somebody you don't know about. They know everything that he has. They know his weaknesses, his strengths. They know all about him. Bring him in and take a chance and see what happens, especially in this class. I mean, come on now. I mean, my thing is I'm curious to see where Kyler Murray goes. If I was Kyler Murray, if it was me, okay, I would be the backup at the LA Rams. That's where I would do. I'd take a year off. I'd go make a little bit of money. I'd go hang out at the Rams. I'd be with my guy and, Cliff Kingsbury, and we'll go from there. And then if Stafford retires, then I can hopefully come in and get that starting spot the next year. But why go kill yourself and put yourself in a similar situation like Arizona and go to the Jets or whatever and get your brains beat in just so you can say, I started? You don't need that huge contract right now. Let him play for the future as opposed to, trying to chase it right now. The only other place I'd go besides the Rams is Minnesota because of Jefferson, and they do got a pretty good group. But after that, why chase it?
Well, I mean, if he does go to the Jets, I mean, they got an offensive line. They just signed a bunch of players for the defense. If they can get one more skill player to go with Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor, I mean, it might not be too bad. Why would the Rams want to? I mean, I know they have Cliff Kingsbury and all that, but if I'm the Rams, I know that'd be like a minimum type deal.
Right.
I don't know. Kyler Murray's not a run the offense player, right? Like, he's just not. He's a matador. He goes back there and invites chaos. I think he drives Sean McVay crazy.
I thought, it helped Baker And I'm looking at it that way. It helped Baker. And even if he's only there for a year, it's a place to chill. It's obvious that McVay and those guys are really good at developing quarterbacks.
For sure, if he'll do it, yeah.
So it's almost like going to summer camp. Okay, you go or taking your master's classes at go get your master's degree and learn how to play it and learn some nuances like Baker did. And then if you have to move on after a year, move on. But why go put yourself in a Shark Tank with a bunch of teams that aren't any good just to say you started? That to me is like, that ends careers, not helps them.
Free agency day continues, I should say, today. Guys, have you ever seen my best work I've ever done? My flow chart about free agency. I put this thing together. I'll go ahead and put it for our YouTube viewers. Like, this is how everyone in the NFL is supposed to react. There's a free agency reaction flow chart. For those of you watching on our stream, you'll see this. A free agent. If this free agent signs with your team, you just say, "Oh man, I love that." And if the free agent signs with someone else, just repeat after me. I wouldn't have done it for that money. That's it. That's it. And if you want to troll people online, just do that. No matter what the deal is. I don't care what Hendrickson signs for. If you would have done it, you got to tweet at a Cowboys fan like,
now,
I would have done that. No thanks. Not for that money. No thank you.
Did you actually make that chart?
I did make that chart.
Well, what's funny is the co-host on the radio this morning here in Tulsa, we talked about that chart. I hadn't seen it.
Oh yeah,
he saw it and brought it up.
I made that chart like 4 years ago, and every year, this time of year, I tweet that out. I wrote that red marker on that yellow legal pad. That is me in my kitchen making the free agent reaction chart.
Well, you made Tulsa radio today without anybody knowing it was you. So congratulations.
Very good. Very good. It's what you do this time of year. You got to like the signings you make, and we'll see if the Bills can have, like, where's the Michael Hoyt move, right? Which you liked, and the PED thing was a problem, but whatever. That was a calculated, quick move early last year that we thought, ooh, this means they're going to do things different this year, and then they did. They did. Right?
They really did.
Like, don't underestimate that the first piece you get in free agency can really kind of start to tell you a story about what your team's going to do, because we got that with Michael Hoyt last year.
And that was a 3 years, $21 million. I mean, that feels like that could be a really good deal for the Bills. Obviously, he's only played like 7 quarters, and it feels like the Bills got Bryce Pop and then lost him, right? Like, it was an amazing moment, but that could be a really, really impactful player for the Bills this coming season. And so I'm excited for him, and that's a good retrospect of some good value. Connor McGovern was a good value signing in free agency. His initial deal was there's actually 3 years, $21 million, if I'm not mistaken. And so hopefully Bean's got some of those in his back pocket, and maybe a little less Curtis Samuel.
And do you guys also subscribe to the thinking that I do, that let's get away from this? We signed him as a center, but Van Pran Granger is going to play at a level that we're going to bump him the guard and start Van Pran Granger. I mean, if that happened, if I was Connor McGovern and I took this deal to come back at center, and then I find out 3 months later they're moving me to left guard, I'd hold out and demand a trade. I'd be hot.
I don't see that coming. The one story that I've seen a lot of fans put out there is, now that McGovern's here and you've committed to him, it's going to be harder to commit to Torrance. So now can you flip O'Cyrus Torrance in a trade? I don't really have a lot of energy for that, but Jerry, I would like to hear from you on it.
I'm fine with that. Trade him, move him, do whatever now, because here's the thing. I've got my center and I've got my 2 tackles. All right. And if you haven't noticed, if you follow Dion, if you follow Jersey Star on Instagram, Dion is on that. He is on that protein diet. He's on that low carb diet. He's on his way to the 325, as he said. So we'll take his word for it. But seriously, I've got both tackles and center. Those are my 3 most important spots. Now I can mess with guards. I would love O'Cyrus Torrance back. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'm not going to jeopardize the future of the franchise to pay him if it's ridiculous.
What type of return would you be wanting for O'Cyrus Torrance? Would you want a player? Would you want a meaningful pick?
I mean,
it's just an unprecedented trade. We don't see guards that have been an every snap player that's been pretty good for the team that drafted him get traded between year 3 and year 4. I don't know what to point to.
But I'm not moving them this year.
Well, that's the idea. That's what people are saying.
No, why would I move him this year when I just got a victory and getting McGovern back, and now I've got 4 of the 5 back.
Right, that's where I'm at with it. But like,
no,
are you now going to pay? Dude, he's going to get $20 million a season next offseason, right? Like,
yeah, but it is what it is. We're trying to win now. Why are you going to weaken yourself?
I wouldn't. Right. I want Osiris Torrance to be the.
That's what everybody's got to talk about.
Yeah.
You're the same. Everybody. It's the same people at this side of their mouth. They're talking about, hell with them picks. We got to win now. Get DJ Moore in here. We're going to win. And then at the other side of their mouth, they're saying, excuse me, we've got to trade this guy because we got to get this value as the highest it'll be. It's you can't rob Peter to pay Paul here. If you want to win now, you got to keep your best players on the roster, and that's Osiris Torrance.
You guys are talking trading offensive linemen. I've seen a little bit of a suggestion that Pran Granger, would he be available? Because that market and that position is so explosive. I mean, he hasn't really played a lot, so it's tough to do. I mean, maybe he's a piece in a trade, but it feels like he's more valuable to the Bills. Just like keep him in house. We got a good guy on the depth chart, and keep him here. Maybe he ends up going in if there's an injury, but I don't know that the value in trade would be anything worth really considering.
Keep him as your backup center. I think it's the most valuable thing that Cedric Van Pran Granger can be for you this year is your backup center.
And he's a fifth round contract.
Right. Yeah, super cheap.
He's played very few snaps. I don't think he's got a lot of value out there, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, keep him. You don't know what's, you never know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know what's going to happen to McGovern. I mean, you got to keep guys around.
The Jets' full list of additions today: Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joseph Osai, Kingsley Enagbare, Demario Davis, and David Onyemata. That's 5 pieces for their defense just today that they've added. Some on 1 year, some on 2 years. So Fitzpatrick, they gave Minkah Fitzpatrick a 3-year, $40 million extension, which made me look up how old Minkah Fitzpatrick is, and turns out he's only 29. So I guess he's on his 3rd team from Miami to Pittsburgh to Miami back to the Jets. Like, all right, that I thought he was shot, kind of, and a 3-year extension for him to go with the Jets.
I don't know that a player in NFL history has ever been traded away by the same team twice. Right? I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick might be in some rare territory here, but think about this Jets team. I mean, you got Aaron Glenn and his superpowers of calling plays, plus these players on defense. I mean, the 85 Bears better look out. This Jet stuff is goofy, guys. Come on.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's like he woke up and found out, he's in Miami and he found out that they weren't, they outlawed death by electrocution, but then the next paragraph it said, and they're moving everything to the gas chamber. I mean, it's like that poor dude. He went from the Dolphins to the Jets, man. Like, I know he's making paper, but can he catch a break? Like, come on, man. Come on.
Tremaine Edmonds still available? Hasn't been scooped up yet.
Oh,
What's he cost?
I got Tremaine's. I got some Tremaine's information here. I looked up the other day.
Yeah.
As far as fit goes, where is that? Here it is. Here. All right. You look at Tremaine Edmonds and they talk about a big time playmaking linebacker, right? Splash play type linebacker. The most tackles for loss he had in the season was his second season with the Bills. He had 10. Okay. His last 3 years in Chicago, he's averaged 5, 3, and 3 tackles for loss. That's not a guy that's getting downhill through A gaps and B gaps and making big plays behind the line of scrimmage. That's a guy that sits back about 12 to 15 yards and sees things and runs it down. I don't know how that fits in this defense. Maybe it does, Joe. You know it much better than I do, but I just don't see how that money and how that fits with what we want.
Mike Evans. We have Mike Evans. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm good on Edmonds unless it's cheap.
Okay. Mike Evans to the 49ers.
It's happening?
Yeah. The 49ers are signing Mike Evans. 3-year deal.
Yeah, I saw that as a probable if he wasn't staying in Tampa.
Yep. So he did leave.
They've been trying to get you want to talk about a team that's trying to get the receivers figured out.
Yes.
It's the 49ers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, they had an amazing one, and they kind of they lost him.
And they kept him, but then they lost him.
Yeah, yeah.
Juwan Jennings has been a good player for them, but he's probably going to leave. They're not going to pay him. Parasol can't stay healthy.
Haven't heard a word about Ayuk today, but Washington has always been the heavy favorite because of relationships. They'd have to, maybe they'll be the one to take a risk there. So Mike Evans, he did leave Tampa. I wonder how much the Bills were in on that. And again, like this is where did they talk to him and think, wow, he wants 3 years and whatever the number ends up being, is he going to get 27 million? And they thought, we're not going to do that. We're going to instead go for DJ Moore a little less. And
it's the Diggs deal. I told you, Diggs got the 3-year deal. It was always just a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
That's got to be what this is.
And I know that they control the narrative as good as anybody in the league, that being them, being the front office of the Bills. They're very good at getting their message out. But if you read that Breer article, I mean, it was pretty obvious the way that he made it sound that it was DJ Moore all along. Like that was the guy. Like that was Brady's guy. That was what they wanted. There wasn't any even consideration. There might have been some plan B's or C's if this one didn't work, but it was DJ Moore from the jump, it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
That's my vibe as well on that, based on some things I've heard.
Yeah.
Joe Brady wanted DJ Moore,
right.
And he got him.
All right. He got him. See how he uses him. Enjoy the rest of free agency. You got some live reaction to some names here, and by the time we meet again on Thursday, guys, maybe we'll have some fish in the boat, whether that's Leo Chenal or some of these other pieces. But yeah, free agency. A lot has already happened. It's been 2.5 hours, and this thing is off and running. Some more trades, and I'd imagine that the Bills are not exactly sitting out right now. They're probably in on a couple of these things. Like, oh, all right, price goes too much. Check in. Price goes too much. We'll keep waiting and see where we get to. So it's going to be head on a swivel kind of thing. Until then, until Thursday, when we return, we'll come back and see where we are at that point. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love, folks. Go Bills.